Today we will bring you a romantic love story, so let's get started. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any meaningful stories. The cyan neon light from the Skyline Lounge sign flickered on the glossy tiled floor, blending with the warm yellow glow of lanterns hanging around the bar. Outside, Manhattan dazzled like a tapestry of light, skyscrapers soaring, defying the April night sky. The slow saxophone of the jazz band echoed, but the hearty laughter and clinking glasses had dwindled. Thornton and Associates' client reception was nearing its end, with only a few scattered figures left on the rooftop, leaving a quieter space heavy with the scent of liquor and memories. Amanda Brooks sat on a high stool at the bar's corner, her long legs crossed, her teal evening gown hugging her body, shimmering under the lights. Her wavy brown hair fell loosely, a few strands brushing her forehead, veiling her dreamy, slightly intoxicated eyes. Her fourth glass of champagne rested lazily in her hand, the pale golden liquid rippling with her every move. A delicate silver necklace gleamed on her neck, its tiny star pendant, a gift from someone she'd never forgotten, though no one knew she still wore it, a painful reminder. "Amanda, you should head home." Elena Martinez, Amanda's close colleague, stood by the bar, holding a nearly empty cocktail. Elena's sleek black hair was tied high, her earrings sparkling with every tilt of her head. "You've had too much." Amanda laughed, her voice wavering, hoarse from the alcohol. "I'm fine, Elena. Just want to stay a bit longer." She gestured toward the glittering skyline. "New York's too beautiful tonight to miss." But her eyes drooped, as if the city's beauty only deepened her loneliness. Elena raised an eyebrow, her gaze playful. "The view, or someone sitting nearby?" She nodded toward Oliver Thornton, who had just emerged from the crowd of clients, striding to the bar with confident but cold poise. Oliver Thornton, 32, was the embodiment of power and detachment. His tailored black suit hugged his tall frame, his dark hair swept back, revealing a high forehead and eyes sharp as knives. He sat one stool away from Amanda, ordering a whiskey in a low, curt voice. "Whiskey, neat." His demeanor suggested the world was merely a chessboard, and he was always the one moving the pieces. Amanda glanced at him, her smile fading. She took another sip of champagne, the sharp liquid burning down her throat, making her bolder, or perhaps more reckless. "Still whiskey neat, Thornton?" she asked, her tone deliberately teasing, though her eyes betrayed a sadness she couldn't hide. Oliver turned, his icy gaze sweeping over her. "Same as always, Brooks," he replied, addressing her by her last name, as if she were a distant colleague. But the way he gripped his whiskey, knuckles slightly white, betrayed his composure. Elena, sensing the tension, patted Amanda's shoulder. "I'm grabbing another drink. You good?" Without waiting for an answer, she slipped away, leaving Amanda and Oliver in the quiet corner of the bar, where soft golden light bathed them like a small stage. The air between them grew heavy, filled only with the jazz and the clink of glasses on the counter. Amanda twirled her champagne flute, her eyes fixed on the sparkling star pendant at her neck. The alcohol warmed her chest, unleashing long suppressed emotions like a tide. She took a deep breath, her voice trembling but resolute. "Oliver," she began softly, "when you left me, did you ever think of me?" Oliver stiffened, his whiskey glass halting midair. He looked at her, his sharp eyes flickering with a hint of unease. "Amanda, you're drunk," he said, his voice low and rigid. "Don't talk nonsense." "Nonsense?" Amanda laughed bitterly, the sound shattering the air. She slid off her stool, stepping closer, just an arm's length away. The sandalwood scent of Oliver's cologne hit her, stirring memories she'd tried to bury. "You think it's nonsense, Oliver? I've never forgotten you. Not a single day." Her voice rose, quivering with alcohol and pain. "When you ended it, do you know how much it hurt? Do you know how many nights I cried, wondering what I did wrong to lose you?" Her confession cut through Oliver's cold facade like a blade. He stared at her, his heart pounding. 7 years ago, he'd believed she betrayed him, left him for someone else. But now, seeing her fiery, tear-filled, yet defiant eyes, he wasn't so sure. He wanted to hold her, to say she was the one thing he couldn't forget. But pride and past pain held him back. He pursed his lips, his voice cold as stone. The past is the past, Amanda. I don't remember anything. Amanda stepped back, her hand clutching the champagne flute so tightly her nails scraped the glass. She laughed, but it was laced with bitterness. Liar, she whispered, her voice choked. You've always been the best liar, Oliver Thornton. Just then, Amanda's phone on the bar lit up, a message flashing on the screen. Mark Langley. You look stunning tonight, Amanda. Coffee tomorrow? Ha 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 ha. Oliver, sitting nearby, caught a glimpse of it. His eyes darkened, his hand gripping the whiskey glass so hard it creaked. Mark Langley, the new lawyer at the firm, always hovering around Amanda with his charming smile and flirty remarks. Oliver never admitted it, but seeing Mark near her felt like a vice crushing his chest. Amanda picked up her phone, read the message and laughed softly, the sound like fuel on a fire. Mark sure knows how to make me smile, she said, her voice deliberately louder, as if to provoke him. She typed a quick reply, her fingers dancing across the screen, her eyes glinting with mischief. Oliver set his whiskey down on the bar, the glass hitting the wood with a sharp thud. Sounds like you're having fun with him, he said, his voice low but cutting. I don't care who you're with, Amanda. Don't think I notice. Amanda stopped typing, looking up at him. Her eyes narrowed, flashing with hurt and anger. She stood, stepping so close he could smell the bergamot in her hair. You don't care? She repeated, her voice low but sharp as a blade. Then why's your hand clenched so tight, Oliver? Why do your eyes look like they're bleeding when you saw Mark's text? Her words hit like a punch, leaving Oliver speechless. He opened his mouth to retort but found no words. His usually icy eyes now betrayed a pain he couldn't hide. He turned away, his voice hoarse. Go home, Amanda. Don't make a fool of yourself. Amanda stood there, her chest aching as if stabbed. The alcohol urged her to scream, to pull him back, but pain and pride reduced her to a whisper. You're such a liar. She turned, striding toward the elevator, her heels clicking sharply on the floor, leaving Oliver alone. He watched her disappear, his whiskey trembling in his hand. The saxophone played on, but to Oliver the world was just painful silence. At the bar's edge, Elena, who had returned, watched quietly, her eyes worried. She knew Amanda and Oliver's story was far from over. In the distance, from a table where guests had left, Mark Langley watched Amanda go, a faint smile on his lips. He sipped his drink, his eyes glinting with calculation. The party may have ended, but their drama was just beginning. The New York sky that October was cloaked in pale gray, but Washington Square Park blazed with golden and red leaves drifting down. The soft cooing of pigeons mingled with the laughter of NYU students gathered under tree arches, studying or snapping photos. The autumn breeze carried the scent of dry leaves and coffee from a nearby cart, weaving through the stone-paved paths. At the park's heart, beneath an ancient oak, Amanda Brooks and Oliver Thornton sat on a bench, hands clasped tightly as if the world held only them. Amanda, 22, wore a deep green sweater and a striped scarf, her wavy brown hair tied high, revealing eyes bright as sunlight. She held a latte, steam rising, and laughed radiantly as Oliver recounted spilling coffee on his professor in economics class. You're an absolute disaster, Oliver Thornton, she teased, her clear voice ringing through the air. Oliver, 25, in a brown leather jacket, his dark hair naturally tousled, smirked, his gentle gaze reserved for her alone. A disaster you love anyway, he shot back, pulling her closer, his warmth chasing away the autumn chill. He brushed her cheek, his fingers grazing her soft skin. You know, Amanda, sometimes I think I don't deserve you. Amanda raised an eyebrow, feigning seriousness. Don't get all insecure, Thornton. I'm a treasure, and you're lucky to have me. She laughed, then softened, resting her head on his shoulder. Just stay with me, and that's enough. Those days, their love was like an endless, sweet song. They met in a commercial law class where Amanda, a passionate junior, sparred with Oliver, a sharp but aloof graduate student. Their fiery debates soon turned into an inseparable bond. They studied late at Bob's library, shared sandwiches from street carts, and kissed under the dim streetlights of Greenwich Village. Oliver gave Amanda a silver necklace with a star pendant, calling her his guiding star. She wore it daily, a silent vow. But even the deepest love couldn't withstand the storms quietly brewing. James Thornton, Oliver's powerful businessman father, disapproved of Amanda. To him, she was an ordinary girl, unworthy of his son, destined to inherit Thornton Enterprises. James began to interfere, his cold voice cutting through calls Oliver tried to dodge. "Focus on your career, Oliver. Don't let a girl distract you." Oliver ignored him, but the pressure mounted. He started part-time work at the family firm, and evenings with Amanda grew scarce. Amanda sensed the shift but chose to trust him, believing their love could conquer anything. Then one rainy afternoon, everything collapsed. Amanda sat in their favorite cafe near NYU, the dim yellow light illuminating her face, now pale with shock. In her hand was a text from an unknown number, with a photo of Oliver embracing another woman in an upscale restaurant. The message read, "He doesn't belong to you, Amanda. Don't torture yourself." She gripped her phone, tears streaming down her cheeks, blending with the sound of rain tapping the windows. She called Oliver, but he didn't answer, tied up in a meeting James had arranged. That night, Amanda waited outside Oliver's dorm, her coat soaked, hair plastered to her face. When he appeared, she threw her phone at him, her voice trembling with rage and pain. "Is this your truth, Oliver? You betrayed me for someone else?" Oliver frowned, picking up the phone and viewing the photo. He shook his head, his voice urgent. "Amanda, it's not what you think. She's just a colleague. My father set it up." But Amanda cut him off, tears falling. "Don't make excuses. You chose your career, your family, and abandoned me. I trusted you, Oliver." Stunned, Oliver couldn't fathom why Amanda believed he'd betrayed her. Before he could explain, she turned and walked away, leaving him in the rain. He called after her, but she didn't look back, her small figure vanishing into the downpour. In the days that followed, Amanda cut all contact. Oliver, hurt and angry, sought her out but received a text from one of her friends. "She saw you with another guy at a bar. She says you chose your career and left her." Devastated, Oliver believed Amanda had betrayed him, moving on quickly to forget him. He didn't know the message was fake, sent by someone hired by James to drive them apart. Meanwhile, Amanda drowned in pain. She moved out of her dorm, avoiding places that reminded her of Oliver. The star necklace remained on her neck, no longer a symbol of love, but a scar she couldn't erase. She threw herself into her studies, hiding her broken heart behind forced smiles. Weeks later, another tragedy struck. Amanda's parents died in a car accident, leaving her alone in the world. She stood at their graves, rain pouring, clutching the star necklace, sobbing. She'd lost everything: family, love, and faith in the future. Oliver, now in another city for James's work, knew nothing of her loss. He tried to reach her, but his messages were blocked by a system James had quietly set up. The memory ends with Amanda alone in her small apartment, dim light casting shadows on her face. No longer radiant, she opened a notebook, scrawling, "Oliver, if you ever loved me, why did you abandon me?" She closed it, tears falling onto the page, leaving an inky smear. In a corner of the room, the star necklace sat in a box, but she couldn't bear to throw it away. 7 years later, those memories still haunt them, like an unhealed wound. Oliver, now a cold CEO, believes Amanda betrayed him. Amanda, now a talented lawyer, thinks Oliver chose his career over her. Neither knows James's manipulations lie behind it all, and the painful truth of their past still waits to be uncovered. The Monday morning after the Skyline Lounge reception, the 45th floor of Thornton and Associates in Midtown Manhattan gleamed under early sunlight. The floor-to-ceiling glass windows reflected New York's skyline, from the distant silhouette of the Brooklyn Bridge to the shimmering skyscrapers. Inside, the office buzzed like a beehive, the clatter of keyboards, ringing phones, and lively debates spilling from meeting rooms. Everything moved fast here, and Amanda Brooks was a breath of fresh air, infusing the space with life. Amanda strode into the open-plan workspace, her wavy brown hair tied high, her navy blazer and skirt accentuating her slender frame. She held a latte, her radiant smile betraying no trace of the drunken confession to Oliver Thornton at the party. Around her neck, the silver necklace with its star pendant glimmered, a small detail she never removed, though it stirred memories of a past she pretended to have forgotten. Morning, everyone. Miss me? Amanda announced, her clear voice ringing as she set her coffee on the desk. She winked at Elena Martinez, her close colleague, who was reviewing documents. Elena, you look like you're about to conquer the world today. Elena pushed up her glasses, chuckling. You're the one looking like you just won an Oscar, Brooks. Still good after the party? She emphasized party, her playful glance clearly referencing the clash with Oliver. Amanda shrugged, her smile unwavering. Better than good. Champagne just sharpens my edge. She sat, opened her laptop, but her eyes flicked across the office, unintentionally catching Oliver as he entered from the main hallway. Oliver Thornton, in a sharp black suit, moved with the cold confidence of a powerful CEO. His dark hair swept back, revealing a high forehead, his razor-sharp eyes scanning the room, but pausing on Amanda for a second. He gripped the files in his hand, trying to shake off the memory of the party, her trembling voice, her fiery eyes asking if he ever missed her. He told himself to keep his distance, to act indifferent, but his heart, as always, refused to listen. Brooks, Oliver called, his voice low and curt, as he passed her desk. The energy case report. I need it by noon. Amanda looked up, a mischievous glint in her eyes. Oh, Mr. Thornton, always so serious? I'll get you the report, but only if you say please first. She tilted her head, her sly smile suggesting they were just boss and employee, nothing more. Carl Shelby, a colleague, stifled a laugh, but Oliver only pursed his lips, his eyes darkening. Just do your job, he said icily, then strode into the main meeting room, leaving Amanda with a triumphant grin. Teasing him is too much fun, Amanda whispered to Elena, but her pulse quickened. She knew she was playing a dangerous game, baiting Oliver as if their past didn't exist. It was the only way to maintain her strong facade, to keep anyone, even him, from seeing her heart still bled. Mid-morning, Amanda shone in a strategy meeting. Standing before a large screen, she presented a plan for a lawsuit against an energy corporation accused of hiding pollution data. With sharpness and charm, she dissected the opponent's weaknesses, proposing new evidence to turn the tide. They think they're clever, she said confidently, but I found a gap in their financials. One strike, and they're done. The room nodded in approval, even Oliver, though he only gave a curt nod. Good, he said, his voice flat. Keep pushing the timeline. But when Amanda sat, his gaze lingered on her smile, and he had to look away to hide the stir in his chest. At lunch in the office break area, Amanda sat with Elena and Mark Langley, the new lawyer. Mark, with his charming smile and easy confidence, shared a funny story about dropping files in court. Amanda laughed hysterically, slapping the table. Mark, you're a walking disaster. A charming disaster, you mean? Mark winked, leaning closer. Lunch this weekend? I know a great Italian spot in Soho. Amanda shrugged, her tone playful. We'll see about my schedule, Langley. You've got a long line to wait in. She laughed, but her eyes drifted across the cafeteria, catching Oliver by the coffee station, holding a black coffee. Oliver stood frozen, his gaze fixed on Amanda and Mark. Her smile, the way she tilted her head when talking, cut into him like a knife. Mark rested a hand on her chair, laughing at a joke, and Oliver's blood boiled. He gripped his coffee, the heat scalding his hand. But he didn't care. He wanted to storm over, to pull her away from that guy. But pride held him back. He had no right to be jealous, not after what he'd done, or thought she'd done, 7 years ago. Thornton, you okay? A colleague asked, noticing his tense expression. Oliver turned away, his voice cold. Fine. He abandoned his coffee, striding back to his office. But Amanda's laugh with Mark haunted him, reopening an old wound. That afternoon, in another meeting, Amanda kept teasing Oliver, acting as if their past never happened. When he asked her to clarify a complex legal point, she quipped, Oh, Mr. Thornton, too serious again. Should I draw you a diagram? Or would you prefer I sing a song about contract law? The room erupted in laughter, but Oliver only tightened his lips, his eyes darkening. He knew she was provoking him on purpose, and it only made him want to crack her cheerful mask. After the meeting, Amanda stayed in the room to review documents. Mark walked in, carrying 2 coffees. For you, star lawyer, he said, setting one in front of her. Seriously, Amanda, you had the whole room stunned this morning. Amanda smiled, taking the coffee. Thanks, but don't flatter me too much, Langley. I know you just want to borrow my notes. She winked, her tone teasing, unaware of Oliver pausing outside the door, about to enter. Oliver stopped, his hand tightening on the doorknob. Seeing Amanda and Mark laughing together stabbed at his chest. He recalled the party, her confession that she still remembered him, but now she was joking with another man as if he meant nothing. He turned, striding down the hall, trying to quell the jealousy raging inside. But deep down, he knew he couldn't ignore it. Not when it was Amanda. Amanda, still with Mark, felt a strange emptiness. She glanced at the door as if sensing Oliver's presence. Her smile faded, and she touched the star necklace, her eyes briefly sad. She could fool the world into thinking she'd moved on, but her heart knew the truth, and she feared that no matter how much she teased him or pretended to be strong, she could never escape him. At the end of the hall, Oliver stood by a large window, staring at Manhattan's bustling traffic. He closed his eyes, trying to banish Amanda's laugh with Mark. "You don't care," he muttered hoarsely. But even he didn't believe his own words. He returned to his office, but his mind stayed trapped on her, Amanda Brooks, the woman he couldn't forget, despite trying for 7 years. The Manhattan sky on Friday afternoon was draped in pale gray clouds, weak sunlight filtering through the skyscrapers, casting a glow on the rooftop of Thornton and Associates. From the 45th floor, the city sprawled like a vibrant painting, with bustling traffic on the avenues and distant car horns echoing below. But on the rooftop, the air was still, broken only by the soft whistle of the April wind through the glass railing and the solitary footsteps of Amanda Brooks. Amanda stood alone near the edge, arms wrapped tightly around herself, as if to keep her heart from shattering. Her thin coat did little against the chill, but she didn't care. Her eyes, usually sparkling with a mischievous smile, were red and swollen, tears streaming down her cheeks, glinting in the fading sunset. In her hand was an old, worn photo of her and her parents from a beach trip years ago. Their radiant smiles in the image cut into her like a knife, slicing open a wound she'd tried to bury. That morning, Thornton and Associates took on a case involving a horrific traffic accident on a New Jersey highway. A family of 3 died when a truck swerved into their car, leaving haunting crime scene images: twisted metal, shattered glass, and dried blood on the road. As lead counsel, Amanda presented the defense strategy in a meeting, her voice sharp, her smile bright. She analyzed details meticulously, from police reports to witness statements, earning nods from the room, even from the ever-stoic Oliver Thornton. But no one knew that during the meeting, Amanda gripped her hands under the table to stop them from trembling. Each crime scene photo, each detail of the crash, pierced her memories like needles. 7 years ago, her parents died in a similar accident, their car struck by an SUV on a highway. She still recalled her mother's last words over the phone, gently reminding her to eat dinner on time. Hours later, a police officer's curt voice delivered news that shattered her world. After the meeting, Amanda kept up her smile, joking with Elena Martinez that she needed a strong coffee to survive this case. She teased Mark Langley when he tried to invite her to lunch, quipping, "Langley, are you asking me out or just trying to steal my strategy?" She passed Oliver, pretending not to notice his gaze, and said, "Mr. Thornton, you should smile more. Your face is making the room gloomy." The office laughed, but Oliver only nodded, his eyes flickering with something complex. But when everyone returned to work, Amanda slipped away to the rooftop. She needed space to breathe, to face the pain she'd hidden for years. The photo in her hand trembled, tears falling, soaking her parents' smiling faces. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice choked. "I'm sorry I haven't been stronger." Oliver Thornton, working late in his corner office, glanced out the window and saw Amanda's small figure on the rooftop. He paused, frowning, a sense of unease rising. Amanda Brooks, who always smiled brightly, who teased him with unmatched wit, stood there, her shoulders shaking with suppressed sobs. He stood almost instinctively and walked to the rooftop, his leather shoes clicking on the stone floor. As he approached, Amanda's cries grew clearer, though she tried to hide them by facing the city. Oliver stopped a few steps away, his chest tightening as he saw the photo in her hand. He recognized it instantly. Her family, whom he'd met once in college when they visited Amanda at NYU. He never knew they were gone, never imagined that Amanda, the girl who shone like the sun, carried such a deep wound. "Amanda!" he called, his voice low but softer than usual. Amanda flinched, quickly wiping her tears, turning with a forced smile. "Mr. Thornton, what are you doing here? Don't tell me you came to check on me." She tried to sound playful, but her red eyes and trembling voice betrayed her. Oliver didn't answer, his gaze locked on her, as if trying to see through her cheerful facade. "You're crying," he said, not a question but a statement. He stepped closer, his voice lower. "Because of the case today." Amanda stepped back, clutching the photo tightly. "It's nothing," she said quickly, her voice slightly high. "Just allergies. Too much dust up here." She laughed, but it was fragile, as if it could shatter any moment. Oliver didn't buy it, and he hated himself for how it made his heart ache. He remembered Amanda from college, strong, radiant, making him laugh no matter how bad the day was. He'd thought she betrayed him, thought she easily moved on with someone else. But now, seeing her so fragile, like a leaf in the wind, he realized he might have been wrong. Her smile, her wit, were just a shield for a heart full of scars. "Amanda," he said again, his voice hoarse, stepping closer. "Tell me the truth. What's going on?" Amanda turned away, staring at the skyline, tears spilling again. "There's nothing to say," she whispered. "You should go back to the office, Thornton. I'm fine." But her voice broke on the last word, and she covered her face, her shoulders shaking with sobs she couldn't hold back. Oliver stood there, his chest constricting. He wanted to hold her, to wipe away her tears, to tell her he was still here, despite 7 years. But his pride, the pain of the past, his belief that she'd betrayed him, held him back. He clenched his fists, nails digging into his palms. "You're not fine," he said, his voice low but firm. "And I'm not leaving until you tell me the truth." Amanda let out a bitter laugh, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. "Why do you care, Thornton? I'm just an employee, right?" She looked at him, her eyes defiant but brimming with hurt. "Or do you think I need your pity?" Oliver froze, her words hitting like a blow. He wanted to say he didn't pity her, that he'd never stop thinking of her, but the words stuck in his throat. Instead, he stood there, his gaze pained as he watched her. "I don't," he started but stopped, unsure what to say. Amanda shook her head, tucking the photo into her coat pocket. "Forget it," she said, her voice hoarse. "I don't need anyone to see me like this." She brushed past him, her hair catching the wind, and disappeared into the stairwell back to the office. Oliver remained on the rooftop, the fiery sunset bathing his conflicted face. He remembered Amanda from 7 years ago, the girl who made him believe in love. He'd thought her strong, invincible, but now he saw a different Amanda, fragile, wounded, and it stirred his heart more than ever. He wanted to chase her, to fix everything, but the pain of the past and his pride were an insurmountable wall. He touched his pocket, where he kept an old fountain pen, a gift from Amanda in college. "You're an idiot, Oliver," he muttered to himself, his gaze fixed on the stairwell where she'd vanished. Under the fading sunset, Manhattan hummed with life, but for Oliver the world was just Amanda's tears and a pain he couldn't shake. Crystal chandeliers hung high in the Empire Room, a lavish Manhattan venue, sparkling like stars, illuminating the polished wooden floor and the dazzling evening gowns. Thornton and Associates hosted its annual company gala, where lawyers and clients mingled to celebrate legal victories. The live orchestra's violins blended with lively chatter, the scent of expensive perfume and red wine filling the air. Through the large glass windows, Manhattan glowed like a nighttime painting, its skyscrapers, lights, and bustling avenue traffic a vivid backdrop. But amid the glamour, an emotional confrontation was about to erupt. Amanda Brooks stood near an elegantly decorated table, her sleek black gown hugging her frame, baring her shoulders in graceful curves. Her wavy brown hair cascaded, shimmering under the lights, in the silver necklace with its star pendant. A college gift from Oliver Thornton rested quietly on her neck, a reminder she couldn't erase. Her smile was radiant, but her eyes held a trace of weariness, as if she were trying to blend into the scene. Beside her was Mark Langley, the new lawyer, with a charming smile and a sharp gray suit. He held a glass of wine, leaning close to Amanda, recounting a story about his recent trip to Italy. "You've got to try the carbonara in Rome, Amanda," Mark said, his eyes twinkling. "Next time I go, you're coming with me." Amanda shrugged, sipping her white wine, her tone playful. "Sounds tempting, Langley. But you know how busy I am. You might need to bribe me with a big case first." She laughed, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. Dating Mark was an attempt to forget Oliver, the man who'd left her heart aching since her drunken confession at Skyline Lounge. But with Mark, she felt only emptiness, as if playing a role that wasn't hers. A few meters away, Oliver Thornton stood with senior lawyers, his tailored black suit accentuating his tall frame. His dark hair swept back, revealing a high forehead. He nodded as a colleague discussed a new case strategy, but his eyes kept drifting to Amanda. Seeing her laugh with Mark, seeing Mark's light touch on her arm, Oliver felt his chest tighten. He gripped his red wine glass, trying to maintain his cold facade. But jealousy surged, stronger than ever. After witnessing Amanda's tears on the rooftop the previous week, he couldn't ignore the feeling that she was still an essential part of him. Yet pride and past pain, his belief that she'd betrayed him, held him back. The orchestra shifted to a slow melody, and couples glided onto the dance floor. Mark set down his glass, extending a hand to Amanda. "Dance with me, most beautiful woman in the room?" he asked, his smile confident. Amanda hesitated for a second, her gaze sweeping the crowd, inadvertently meeting Oliver's. He stood there, eyes darkening, his glass trembling slightly. She turned away, smiling at Mark. "Why not?" she replied, placing her hand in his, letting him lead her to the floor. They moved across the floor, Mark's hand on Amanda's waist, guiding her through a gentle waltz. She kept her smile, but her mind wandered, as if her body was here but her heart elsewhere. Mark, sensing her distance, tilted his head, whispering, "You okay, Amanda?" "You seem lost in thought." She shook her head, smiling faintly. "Just tired. Parties like this aren't really my thing." But before Mark could respond, he leaned down, pressing a light kiss to her lips, right on the dance floor, under dozens of watching eyes. Oliver's world crumbled. His wine glass nearly slipped, his eyes blazing with uncontainable anger. He stormed across the floor, ignoring curious stares, and grabbed Amanda's wrist, pulling her from Mark's arms. "Come with me," he growled, his gaze sharp as a blade. Mark frowned, stepping forward. "Thornton, what are you doing? She's—" "Shut up, Langley," Oliver snapped, his icy tone making Mark step back. Amanda, shocked by Oliver's actions, tried to wrench her hand free. "Oliver, let go," she shouted. But he held firm, dragging her through a narrow hallway to a small lounge, where dim lights and the distant echo of music from the ballroom faded. The door shut, and Amanda yanked her hand free, standing tall, her black gown shimmering in the light. Her eyes blazed, her voice thick with anger. "Are you insane, Oliver? Why did you drag me here?" Oliver faced her, his breathing heavy, fists clenched. "What game are you playing with that guy, Amanda?" he growled, his gaze piercing. "Letting him kiss you on the dance floor? Are you trying to drive me crazy?" Amanda let out a bitter laugh, the sound sharp in the small room. "Drive you crazy? Are you jealous, Thornton?" She stepped closer, pointing at his chest, her red-painted nails brushing his suit. "I'm just your employee, remember? You don't get to tell me who I can love or what I can do." She tilted her head, her eyes glinting with defiance but brimming with hurt. "You said you don't care about me, right? So why are you acting like this?" Her words cut through Oliver's cold exterior like a knife. He stepped back, his chest aching, but his anger still burned. "You think I don't see it, Amanda? You laugh with him, let him kiss you, like I don't exist." He stepped forward, his voice low but trembling with emotion. "You want me to stand there and pretend I don't care?" Amanda stood firm, her gaze sharp as a blade. "Exactly. You don't care, Oliver," she shouted, her voice breaking with pain. "You said so, that night at Skyline Lounge. You said the past is the past. that you don't remember anything about me. So why are you dragging me here, interrogating me like I belong to you?" She shoved his chest, making him step back, her eyes blazing. "I'm dating Mark because it's my business. You have no right to interfere, Thornton." Oliver froze, her words hitting like a punch to the chest. He looked at her, his usually icy eyes now revealing a pain he couldn't hide. He wanted to say he'd never stop thinking of her, that every moment with Mark made his heart bleed. But pride and past pain, his belief that she'd betrayed him, held him back. "You don't understand," he whispered, his voice hoarse. "You don't know." "Enough!" Amanda cut him off, raising a hand. "I don't want to hear it, Oliver. You want to keep your cold act? Fine. But don't drag me into your games." She turned, opening the door, but before stepping out, she looked back, her gaze sharp. "You don't care, right? Then keep it that way." She walked out, her heels clicking on the floor, leaving Oliver alone in the lounge. He clenched his fists, nails digging into his palms, his eyes fixed on her vanishing figure. The violins from the ballroom echoed, but for Oliver the world was just Amanda's words, sharp and painful like an unhealing wound. In the ballroom, Mark stood near a table, his gaze following Amanda's departure. He sipped his wine, a faint smile on his lips, but his eyes glinted with calculation. Another colleague, not Elena, noticed the tension and shook their head with concern. The drama between Amanda and Oliver, like a smoldering fire, was spreading faster than ever. Oliver returned to the party but couldn't engage with the crowd. He stood by a window staring at glittering Manhattan, trying to quell the jealousy and pain in his heart. But deep down, he knew Amanda was right. He couldn't keep pretending not to care, not when his heart still called her name, despite 7 years gone by. A light rain fell on Manhattan's streets, casting a thin veil over the skyscrapers and bustling traffic under neon lights. From the 45th floor of Thornton and Associates, through large glass windows, the city appeared as a misty painting, with the Brooklyn Bridge's lights flickering in the night. Inside the law office, daytime bustle had faded, and now near midnight, only the sound of rain tapping the glass and the rustle of papers filled the old archive room. Oliver Thornton sat alone under dim fluorescent light, his face tense, eyes burning with determination but tinged with unease. Since the Empire Room Gala, when Amanda pushed him away and declared he had no right to be jealous, Oliver couldn't shake the feeling he'd missed something vital in their story. Her sharp words, "You don't care, right?" echoed in his mind, mingling with the image of her crying on the rooftop, clutching her family's photo. He'd believed she betrayed him 7 years ago, that she quickly moved on after their breakup. But seeing her vulnerable, fragile as a leaf in the wind, he began to question his convictions. When Amanda struggled with the lawsuit against Greystone Energy, he decided to investigate, not just to help her, but to find answers to the questions gnawing at him. The Greystone case was a major challenge for Amanda. The corporation was accused of hiding pollution data causing environmental damage, but they kept producing fake documents to mislead. Amanda worked tirelessly, dark circles under her eyes, yet maintained her cheeky smile in front of colleagues as if nothing could defeat her. Oliver, though he wouldn't admit it, grew worried seeing her exhaustion. He started reviewing case files, and one late night, he went to the basement archive room to search for old records related to similar environmental lawsuits. The archive was a dusty maze of iron shelves, the air thick with the smell of old paper and ink. The flickering fluorescent light illuminated towering stacks of files. Oliver, in a white shirt with sleeves rolled up, flipped through documents, scanning reports and court minutes. He wasn't sure what he was looking for, but a thin file, misplaced among Greystone records, stopped him cold. Its cover read, Brooks v. Transway Logistics, 2018. Oliver frowned, his heart racing. He opened the file, and the first page hit him like a blow. A police report detailing a November 15, 2018, highway accident in New Jersey that killed Michael and Laura Brooks, Amanda's parents. A Transway Logistics truck had swerved, crashing into their car. The subsequent lawsuit was dropped when Amanda, then 22, withdrew her claim due to insufficient evidence against the transport conglomerate. Oliver's blood ran cold. He sank into a chair, hands trembling as he turned the pages. A clipped old newspaper article described the accident in detail. The Brooks family's sedan was crushed, glass and metal scattered across the road. Amanda, summoned to the scene, collapsed upon seeing her parents' bodies. The article included a small photo of Amanda outside a courthouse months later, her eyes vacant, face pale, as if her soul had been drained. November 15th, 2018. Oliver gripped the file, nails digging into his palms. It was just days after he and Amanda broke up. He recalled those weeks, consumed by anger over a fake message claiming Amanda was happily with someone else. He'd called her a traitor, cut all contact, never seeking the truth. He'd thought her strong, invincible, that she easily moved on. But now he realized that while he wallowed in rage, Amanda was facing the greatest pain of her life, losing her parents, her entire world, alone. Oliver leaned back against the shelves, breathing heavily. He remembered Amanda's red eyes on the rooftop, clutching her family's photo. He recalled her tears during last week's traffic accident case, when she thought no one saw. All the signs he'd ignored, her forced smiles, fleeting sadness, feigned resilience, now stood clear. Amanda hadn't betrayed him. She wasn't happily with someone else. She was breaking, shattered, and he, in his pride and ignorance, had abandoned her when she needed him most. He stood, taking the file to his office, where dim light cast shadows on his pained face. He opened his laptop, searching for more on the accident. Another article appeared, detailing Amanda's futile fight for justice for her parents. She'd faced Transway Logistics, but their top-tier lawyers outmaneuvered her, forcing a settlement. Oliver touched the screen, where a photo of Amanda outside the courthouse appeared. She looked small, alone, yet held her head high, as if refusing to let the world see her fall. Oliver closed his eyes, rare tears rolling down his cheeks. He thought of the months after their breakup, when he buried himself in work to forget her, while she buried her parents and learned to survive alone. He'd been wrong to think she betrayed him, wrong not to seek her out, wrong to let her endure tragedy without anyone by her side. He clenched his fists, his voice hoarse as he whispered, "I'm sorry, Amanda. I'm sorry I wasn't there." He returned to the Greystone files, determined to help Amanda win the case. He noticed a small detail. Greystone had partnered with Transway Logistics on a transport project, and their financial reports might conceal data on similar accidents. Though not directly tied to her parents' deaths, exposing Greystone could bring Amanda some justice. He worked through the night, noting weaknesses, planning to support her without her knowing. But deep down, Oliver knew winning the case wouldn't atone for his mistakes. He'd abandoned her at her lowest, and that truth cut him like a knife. He thought of Amanda's cheeky smile, how she teased him in the office as if their past didn't exist. He'd thought it was indifference, but now he saw it was her shield, hiding scars he'd helped create. Outside, rain fell, cloaking Manhattan in mist. Oliver gazed at the city, his eyes full of regret. He thought of Amanda, the woman he once loved and perhaps still did. He couldn't change the past, but he vowed to make amends. Holding the file, he resolved not only to help her win the case, but to face her, to offer the apology he'd owed her for 7 years. He stood, stepping into the empty hallway, dim light casting his tall shadow. In his pocket, he touched the old fountain pen, Amanda's college gift. "I won't lose you again," he whispered hoarsely, a promise to himself. Under Manhattan's rain, Oliver's journey to redemption had just begun. The soft golden glow of wall-mounted candelabras illuminated the wooden bookshelves in Thornton and Associates Library, a rare quiet haven amid the frenetic pace of the Manhattan law office. Outside the window, the city skyline sparkled under the night sky, but the air in the library was heavy, as if awaiting a storm. Amanda Brooks sat alone at a large oak table, surrounded by stacks of documents for the Greystone case, her eyes shadowed from overwork. The silver necklace with its star pendant gleamed at her neck, a reminder of a past she hid beneath a strong facade. Amanda flipped a page, but her mind wandered. She thought of Oliver Thornton, the man who'd pulled her from the dance floor last week, his eyes burning with jealousy, yet claiming indifference. She hated how he made her heart race, hated how she still remembered him despite trying to forget for 7 years. She gripped her pen, nails digging into her palm, trying to quell the emotions surging within. The library door opened, and Oliver stepped in, his black suit slightly rumpled, dark hair disheveled from running his hand through it too many times. He paused upon seeing Amanda, his eyes a mix of pain, regret, and resolve. After uncovering the truth about her parents' 2018 accident, Oliver could no longer pretend. He'd abandoned her when she needed him most, and he owed her an apology, even if she might not accept it. "Amanda," he called, his voice low but gentle, approaching the table. Amanda looked up, surprise flickering before turning to wariness. She closed her file, a forced smile curving her lips. "Mr. Thornton? Checking on employees this late?" She tried to sound playful, but her trembling hand betrayed her feigned calm. Oliver didn't bite at the jest. He sat across from her, his gaze locked on hers. "I need to talk to you," he said, voice hoarse, "about the past, about your parents." Amanda froze, her smile vanishing. She stood abruptly, the wooden chair scraping. "What are you talking about?" she snapped, her voice sharper than usual. "Don't bring my parents into this, Oliver. You have no right." Oliver raised a hand as if to calm her. "Amanda, listen. I know the truth. The accident in 2018. I know your parents died right after we broke up." He paused, his voice trembling. "I found the file. I know what you went through, alone. And I'm sorry. I was wrong to think you betrayed me. Wrong not to be there for you." Amanda stepped back, her eyes blazing with anger and hurt. She clenched her fists, nails biting into her palms. "Sorry?" she echoed, voice bitter. "You think coming back with pity now changes anything? I don't need it, Oliver," she shouted, tears glinting but held back. "You left me. You chose to believe I was a traitor and left me alone when I lost everything. Now you know the truth and think an apology wipes it all away?" Oliver stood, stepping closer, his eyes full of pain. "Amanda, I didn't know. I was misled. I thought you—" He stopped, taking a deep breath. "I was wrong. I wasn't there when you needed me, and I'll never forgive myself for that. But I'm here now, and I want to make it right." Amanda let out a bitter laugh, backing up until she hit the bookshelf. "Make it right? Oliver, you can't fix my parents' death. You can't fix 7 years of living with that pain." She touched the necklace, her hand trembling, and for a moment her eyes softened, as if her heart wavered. She still loved him, though she hated herself for it, but she quickly regained her resolve, her voice sharp. "I don't need your pity, Thornton. I survived without you, and I'll keep going." Oliver stood silent, her words cutting like a blade. He wanted to hold her, to say he loved her, that he'd never stopped, but her resolute gaze stopped him. He nodded, voice hoarse. "I understand, but I won't stop, Amanda. Not until you believe I'm sincere." He turned, leaving the library, leaving her alone with the shelves and her aching heart. Amanda sank into the chair, covering her face, tears finally falling. She hated him for resurfacing her pain, but hated herself more for still loving him, for feeling the sincerity in his voice. She touched the necklace, whispering, "Why do you still do this to me, Oliver?" Days later, at a cozy cafe in Greenwich Village, Amanda sat across from Mark Langley. The cafe was warmly lit, filled with the aroma of roasted coffee, but the air between them was tense. Mark, in a blue shirt, looked at her with uncharacteristic seriousness, a departure from his usual confidence. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket, revealing a sparkling diamond ring. "Amanda," Mark said, voice low, "I know we haven't been together long, but I've never met anyone like you. I want us to build a future together. Will you marry me?" Amanda froze, eyes fixed on the ring. She'd dated Mark to forget Oliver, but her heart never belonged to him. She opened her mouth to speak, but her gaze drifted to the window, catching Oliver standing outside, holding an umbrella in the light rain. Oliver, on his way to a meeting, had passed the cafe by chance. Seeing Mark kneel before Amanda, the ring glinting, his chest tightened. He stood frozen in the rain, eyes filled with pain, then turned, walking swiftly into the downpour, unwilling to watch more. He thought she'd chosen Mark, that he'd lost her forever. But in the cafe, Amanda shook her head, her voice soft but firm. Mark, you're wonderful, but I can't. I'm not ready, and I don't love you. She touched the necklace, her eyes briefly sad. I'm sorry. Mark closed the ring box, a forced smile on his lips. I understand, but if you change your mind, I'm here. He stood, leaving Amanda alone, her gaze fixed on the window where Oliver had vanished. She clutched her coffee, silent tears falling. She'd refused Mark not just because she wasn't ready, but because her heart was still trapped in the past, with Oliver, the man she couldn't stop loving, despite the deep hurt he'd cause. She wiped her tears, whispering, You're such an idiot, Amanda. But deep down, she knew her painful past with Oliver was an indelible part of her. Outside, rain fell, cloaking Manhattan in mist. In the downpour, Oliver walked on, unaware that Amanda had rejected Mark, unaware that her heart still called his name, even as she tried to deny it. The rain had stopped, but Manhattan remained damp, puddles on the sidewalks reflecting neon lights from the skyscrapers. In the corner office on the 45th floor of Thornton and Associates, Oliver Thornton sat alone, the desk lamp casting light on his weary, regretful face. A stack of gray stone case files lay before him, but his mind was elsewhere, on Amanda Brooks, the woman he'd loved, lost, and now feared he'd lost forever. The image of Mark Langley kneeling before Amanda in the Greenwich Village Cafe haunted Oliver. The glinting diamond ring, Mark's gentle gaze, and Amanda sitting there, as if weighing a future without him. Oliver had turned away in the rain, unable to watch, terrified she'd say yes. Regret surged like a wave, drowning him in memories of 7 years ago, when he abandoned her, believing falsely that she'd betrayed him. He now knew the truth, her parents' death, the pain she endured alone, but he feared he was too late. Oliver clenched his fists, nails digging into his palms. You're an idiot, Oliver, he whispered hoarsely. Even if Amanda chose Mark, he couldn't let her go without knowing his feelings were real, unchanged from 7 years ago. He resolved to prove it through actions, not to win her back, but to show he'd never stop loving her. He vowed not to regret again, and more importantly, not to lose her once more. In the days that followed, Oliver quietly aided Amanda with the Greystone case. He worked late, analyzing the corporation's financials, uncovering an accounting loophole she could exploit. He sent the documents via anonymous emails signed "A Friend," ensuring she wouldn't know it was him. Noticing she often forgot to eat while overworking, he had his assistant deliver lunch boxes from her favorite Italian restaurant, with simple notes, "Take a break." When she suffered headaches from sleeplessness, he left a bottle of pain relievers on her desk. No explanation given. Amanda noticed these gestures but wasn't sure of their source. Opening a lunchbox, the aroma of carbonara stopped her. It was the dish she and Oliver shared in college. She touched the star necklace, her eyes wavering. "Who's doing this?" she whispered, her heart racing. She suspected Oliver, but the wounds from 7 years ago, his abandonment, her parents' death, made her wary. She feared opening her heart would break her again. One afternoon in Thornton and Associates' meeting room, Amanda presented a new strategy for the Greystone case, using Oliver's anonymous documents. She stood before the screen, voice confident, eyes sharp. "We have evidence of Greystone's shady transactions," she said, pointing to a chart. "If we push this, they can't deny it." Colleagues nodded, but Oliver, at the head of the table, watched silently, his gaze filled with pride and pain. After the meeting, Amanda stayed to gather files, and Oliver entered, closing the door. She looked up, wary. "Mr. Thornton, something up?" she asked, her tone deliberately light. Oliver took a deep breath, stepping closer. "Amanda, I know you're doing great with the case. I just want to say, if you need anything, I'm here." He paused, his eyes sincere. "Whoever you choose, I need you to know I never stopped caring about you. From 7 years ago to now, my feelings have always been real." Amanda froze, her grip tightening on the files. His words hit like a wave, crashing against the resilient facade she'd built. She wanted to believe him, to let her heart open, but memories of past pain held her back. She gave a bitter laugh, shaking her head. "Caring? Oliver, you're 7 years too late. She turned away, but her trembling eyes betrayed her wavering. I don't need words. I need time. Oliver nodded, not pushing. I'll wait, Amanda, as long as it takes. He left the room, leaving her alone, her heart torn between love and fear. Days later, Amanda walked through Bryant Park, sunlight filtering through the trees, illuminating her face. Having rejected Mark, she felt empty despite knowing it was right. She paused by a fountain, touching the star necklace, suddenly recalling Oliver. The anonymous lunches, the case documents, his sincere gaze. She wondered if he was genuine, if she could trust him again. Unbeknownst to her, Oliver was working late at the office, reviewing another document for her case. He looked out the window, thinking of Amanda, and whispered, I won't lose you again, Amanda. Never. Under Manhattan's lights, his resolve burned like an unquenchable flame. Courtroom 7 at Manhattan's federal courthouse was thick with tension, early summer sunlight streaming through high windows, glinting off the polished wooden floor and packed benches. Outside, car horns and New York's frenetic pulse echoed, but inside, all eyes were on Amanda Brooks. She stood at the counsel's podium in a sharp navy suit, her wavy brown hair tied high, eyes blazing with determination. The silver necklace with its star pendant gleamed at her neck, a talisman of her long journey to this day. The lawsuit against Greystone Energy, a months-long legal battle, was reaching its climax. Amanda had worked relentlessly, analyzing countless documents, countering the opponent's dirty tactics, and leveraging evidence Oliver provided anonymously. Today, she delivered her closing argument, her voice sharp yet emotional, exposing Greystone's concealment of pollution data. Justice isn't just about the law, she said, her gaze sweeping the jury. It's about the people hurt, the communities destroyed. We can't let Greystone evade responsibility. When the judge announced the verdict, Greystone ordered to pay millions in damages and disclose pollution data, the courtroom erupted in applause. Amanda's colleagues, including Elena Martinez, cheered, but she stood still, a tired smile on her lips. She'd won, but her body trembled, exhausted from sleepless nights and crushing pressure. She touched the necklace, her eyes briefly sad as she thought of her parents, who would have been proud. Oliver Thornton sat in the back row, his eyes never leaving Amanda. In a black suit, his face tense but proud, he'd watched her throughout the trial, his heart pounding with every word she spoke, every time she stood firm under pressure. He knew her strength but saw she was pushing herself to the limit. When she turned, their eyes met briefly, and Oliver glimpsed something in hers, a fragility she always hid. As the trial ended, colleagues flooded the hallway, congratulating Amanda. She smiled, shaking hands, but her steps faltered. Elena called, Amanda, you okay? Before she could respond, her head spun, and she collapsed, files scattering on the floor. Oliver, a few meters away, rushed forward like a gust of wind. Amanda! He shouted, kneeling beside her, cradling her slight frame. The crowd buzzed, but he didn't care, his eyes filled with panic and pain. He held her close, trembling hands stroking her hair. Amanda, wake up, he whispered hoarsely. I can't lose you again. Amanda's eyes fluttered open, her vision blurry, but she felt Oliver's warmth. His trembling voice, thick with fear, pierced her heart. She tried to sit up, but he held her firmly, his gaze locked on her as if she were the only thing in the world. You need rest, he said, resolute. I'm taking you. She shook her head weakly, voice hoarse. I'm fine, just tired. But Oliver ignored her, lifting her despite curious stares, carrying her to his car and driving to a nearby clinic. In the waiting room, he sat beside her, holding her hand tightly, never looking away. The doctor diagnosed exhaustion and dehydration, prescribing rest and IV fluids. Oliver tended to her meticulously, fetching water, adjusting her pillow, ensuring she took her medication. In the small hospital room, soft white light illuminated Amanda's pale but still beautiful face. She looked at Oliver, sitting by her bed, his eyes full of worry. She recalled the past weeks, the anonymous lunches, the case documents, his sincere apology. She'd tried to keep her distance, to protect her heart, but now she couldn't hide her true feelings. Tears rolled silently down her cheeks. Oliver, alarmed, gripped her hand. "Amanda, what's wrong? Are you in pain?" he asked, voice trembling. Amanda shook her head, voice choked. "I don't want to be strong anymore, Oliver," she whispered, tears streaming. "I'm tired of pretending, of hiding. I just want to be loved." She broke into sobs, head bowed, and Oliver, without hesitation, pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly as if afraid she'd vanish. "I love you, Amanda," he whispered into her hair, voice hoarse. "I've always loved you, from 7 years ago to now. I was wrong to abandon you, but I swear I won't lose you again." He stroked her hair, his own tears falling silently into her locks. "I'll spend my life proving it, if you'll give me a chance." Amanda sobbed in his arms, feeling his warmth and sincerity. The wounds from 7 years ago still ached, but for the first time, she felt she could trust him, could let her heart open. She looked up, meeting his eyes, and though she said nothing, her gaze spoke volumes. Forgiveness, vulnerability, and a love she couldn't deny. Oliver kissed her forehead, gentle but full of love, and they sat in silence, the rain outside blending with the rhythm of their heartbeats. Manhattan buzzed beyond, but in this moment, it was just them. Two broken hearts, now finding each other in a fate they couldn't lose. Spring in Manhattan draped Central Park in vibrant green, dotted with pink cherry blossoms fluttering in the cool breeze. Golden sunlight filtered through the trees, sparkling on the lake and Stone Pass. On the 45th floor of Thornton and Associates, warm yellow light from wall-mounted candelabras blended with the city skyline's neon glow, creating a cozy ambiance for the celebration of the Greystone case victory. Amanda Brooks stood near a banquet table, her emerald dress hugging her frame, wavy brown hair cascading loosely. The silver necklace with its star pendant gleamed at her neck, now a symbol of a love that had overcome 7 years of pain. Oliver Thornton, in an elegant gray suit, couldn't take his eyes off Amanda. After her collapse in the courtroom and her raw confession, they'd found each other again, mending years of separation with sincere acts of love. Oliver had learned to cherish every moment with her, and Amanda, once wary, had opened her heart to trust him again. Tonight, he wanted the world to know she was his everything. As jazz music filled the air, Oliver approached Amanda, taking her hand, his eyes ablaze. "Everyone," he announced, his deep voice steady, drawing the crowd's attention, "I want to say this in front of you all. Amanda Brooks isn't just the finest lawyer at Thornton and Associates. She's the woman I love. I lost her once because of my mistakes, but now I vow to protect and cherish her for the rest of my life." The crowd applauded, some colleagues whistling, Elena Martinez beaming. Amanda looked at Oliver, cheeks flushed, eyes sparkling with joy. She pulled him close, whispering, "You're such a show-off, Thornton." But she squeezed his hand, her smile showing she treasured every word. From then on, Oliver became a man who doted on Amanda endlessly. He memorized every detail of her life, her favorite morning latte, her habit of forgetting an umbrella in the rain, her love for listening to jazz by the window. He left bouquets of yellow tulips, her favorite, at her apartment door, with handwritten notes. "Because you're my sunshine." When she worked late, he brought homemade meals, from carbonara to sandwiches, sometimes clumsily prepared, making her laugh. He even bought a soft wool coat, draping it over her chair on a chilly day, knowing she shivered when sitting too long. Amanda, once afraid to open her heart due to past wounds, now felt Oliver's complete love. Every small gesture was a promise he'd never hurt her again. She laughed more, her eyes no longer tinged with sadness, and her heart for the first time felt safe. A year later, under a canopy of radiant cherry blossoms in Central Park, Oliver and Amanda held their wedding in a fairy tale setting. The sky was clear, sunlight filtering through falling petals, casting a shimmering glow on the grass. Amanda wore a pristine white gown, her hair adorned with tiny flowers, walking beside Oliver, who was in a black suit, his gaze never leaving her. Guests, from Elena to colleagues, cheered as they exchanged vows, laughter and music mingling in the air. At the reception, Oliver took the microphone, standing before everyone, his voice thick with emotion. I once lied and said I didn't care about Amanda, he said, looking directly at her, eyes burning. But the truth is, I couldn't bear seeing her with anyone else. I made a mistake 7 years ago, but I swear I'll never make it again. Amanda, you're my guiding star, and I'll love you until the end of my days. Amanda smiled, happy tears glistening in her eyes. She stood, embracing him, whispering, "You're so cheesy, Oliver." But as she looked up, her eyes said everything: safety, joy, and a complete love she'd never dared dream of. She touched the star necklace, now a symbol of a new beginning, free of past pain. Under the spring sunlight, they danced their first waltz, eyes locked. Oliver leaned down, kissing her forehead softly, whispering, "I love you, Amanda, forever." She rested her head on his chest, smiling, feeling his heartbeat sync with hers. Central Park glowed around them, but in this moment, it was just Oliver and Amanda, two once broken hearts, now entwined in an eternal love.